Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Johnny Consciousness. I'm your host, John Moore. We are going to be continuing, not today, but probably the next episode in chapter 3 of the book, what's it called? UFOs and the Afterlife, or UAPs and the Afterlife. But today, since it's Pride Month and I'm gay, and I've been living with my partner now for coming up in November for 38 years. We're not married though. I'm not gonna go into reasons why, but basically for me, for us, it boiled down to what the government can give, the government can take away, and the history of marriage is a wife is property. It's all to me. It's an artificial construct, but that's my bias, and I'm just being upfront with it. So I did some research, and with the help of YouTube Studio I came up with the following data. There are twice as many married same sex couples today as there were in 2015. On paper, it looks like a total victory for equality, but here's the twist. For the first time in years, actual public support for same sex marriage is dropping. But why? Later on in the program, in honor of Pride Month, I'm going to use the Pride Tarot, a collective collaborative deck of LGBTQ plus artists who came up with the tarot deck. So we'll be using that right toward the end. Today we're going to be looking at the data as well, the shifting moral landscape and what the future might hold. Let's look at the growth first. Data from the Williams Institute at the UCLA Law School shows we've hit a milestone. That is 823,000 legally married same-sex couples in the United States. That is a massive jump from 2015. And believe it or not, the southern states actually saw the biggest increase. That's the Bible Belt, right? Between 2014 and 2023, the number of cohabiting same sex couples who are now married in the South jumped from 38% to 59%. Plus, these families are raising nearly 300,000 children. That's fantastic. But while the numbers of same sex marriages up, the vibe is shifting. Gallup recently found that 65% of Americans support same sex marriage. That's a strong majority, but it represents a 6 point drop from the peak we saw just a few years back. This is where morality comes in. Moral acceptance is also at its lowest point since 2016, sitting at 62%. And when it comes to gender identity, only 38% of people say they consider changing one's gender morally acceptable. That's a different topic, but you see the trend or the vibe, as I said earlier. We're seeing a clear trend either way of the public is now pulling back a bit of their support. The traditional perspective. This shift hasn't gone unnoticed. Tony Perkins recently wrote an article for the Christian Post. Actually, it was an op-ed article, and his article was titled "Support for the Same-Sex Marriage is Falling." Here's why that shouldn't surprise anyone. Now, the Christian Post is generally seen as having a right-leaning publication bias, meaning they approach news from traditional faith-based perspective. Perkins shared a story wherein a CNN producer asked him how same sex relationships affected his own marriage. he said it's not about his personal marriage. It's about the kid. It's about the culture and what the children are taught. He argues that these shifts go against what he believes as God's design, as defined by the Word of God. So, what's the Word of God? Is it the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, the Book of Mormon? Maybe it's sacred writings of Baha'i, the Vedas of Hinduism, or the Gnostic Gospels found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Word is a huge global library of wisdom that means different things depending on where you are on the map, and also what your quote unquote religion is. So it's down a bit, but it's still generally supportive of same sex marriage. But I want to know what's the future perhaps for same sex marriage in the United States. So I'm going to ask Tarot using the Pride Tarot deck just to get a sense of where gay marriage is and where it's going in terms of support and even legalization, which has already been codified, I believe. Let's see. Please, Spirit, tell us about same-sex marriage in the United States. Same-sex marriage in the United States. Same-sex marriage in the United States. It's a new deck. I'm still breaking it in, and I haven't done much reading with it, so bear with me if I'm a little slow interpreting the cards. But what I got from Spirit before I taped this episode, I basically got the information that there's going to be some knockout, drag-out fights, opposition to gay marriage coming up, but in the end, gay marriage is going to remain legal and for as far as the United States government is concerned. So let's take a look at what Tarot says. I'm going to draw 3 cards first, and then if it warrants, I'll draw more. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, the first card we have is the 3 of Cups. So this celebrates unions, marriages. This probably represents back when the law was passed, all the celebration going on. And I want to mention hats off and kudos to Gavin Newsom, who way back when was issuing gay marriage license certificates when he was mayor of San Francisco, which started the ball rolling to eventually get it passed into law. Now the next we have the Page of Swords. Again, this represents, I think, all the activists on both sides, conservative and pro same-sex marriages, marching to battle for their particular views. And then we have the 2 of Swords. I think this represents maybe perhaps the silent ones who don't answer these polls. They're divided. They don't know if it. They personally they think there's no problem with it because it really doesn't affect them. But then they have the Word of God, which says it's an abomination and a sin, etc. So there's a dichotomy that's will always go on in the United States, and I don't think we need to further reading. I think Tarot has basically said could be both the present and the future, that gay marriage will be upheld. So that's all I have for today. Um, I'm recording this on June 28th, 2025. 2026. Well, let's not repeat 2025. Um, yeah. My next episode's going to continue with UAPs in the afterlife, how new disclosures support centuries of psychic and spiritual research. I'll be doing chapter 3, which is entitled Why Consciousness Must Be a Field, Information and Psychokinesis, aka PK. So that's it. Please like, support the channel, drop a comment. Opinions are welcome, of course, as well as just dropping a comment to see where everyone is from. And as always, I humbly ask that you always let your light shine, always be kind, and if you can't, at least try. Until next time, I'm Johnny Consciousness.